Hi, 100 days today, 1,800 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. Let's see if I'm on. And we can start. Yeah. So he was forcibly removed from his barracks room on Fort Bliss, and his life was taken from him because he was a whistleblower. And he wasn't just any whistleblower. He was a whistleblower for the truth of what President Trump was saying about the border, about the unsecured border and the criminal activity that it was causing. And of course, you have cartel tied, that's been confirmed, cartel tied criminal trafficking going on at the border worth billions of dollars. And so, what has, of course, they're going to protect their billions of dollars. And these are a criminal network, a criminal nexus of people at the highest levels that have a lot of money, y'all. They have a lot of money because they have been exploiting the system for a long time, exploiting our military, our contracts. And we know it. We know it that they've been doing it. We have to admit it. And of course, they've been controlling and exploiting Texas. Texas has a huge economy. And, so for decades and decades, they've been perfecting their economic takeover of, well, exploitation of Texas. They don't control the Texans. They, I guess they try to, but they absolutely exploit the system. And, I know because my alma mater is Mary Hardin Baylor. I went to school in Temple. I went to school in El Paso. I was born at White Sands Missile Range. So I was married on Fort Hood. On Fort Hood, I was married on Fort Hood. We had our first child in Killeen, right? In Killeen. So, taught school in Killeen. The economy there is huge. It's larger than many countries, many countries. So, of course, there is motive to control the economy there and exploit it, and absolutely, and we know that there is a water mafia. We know that, of course, in Texas, of course. In California, we know that in California and Arizona and New Mexico, if you control the water is worth a lot of money. And you can really control property prices and everything, controlling water. So, that's nothing that I'm making up. That's already documented, well documented, lots of lawsuits and everything like that. And, it's very abnormal for 42 feet of water to be created in a surge in 1 to 3 hours. Okay, it's just unheard of. Okay, um, something is very stinky with that, and it's killed many people, and including children, including all of these young girls that are missing. It's something that really needs to be investigated because something is very stinky, very stinky. And of course, I had that dream I had the dream that I reported to my family, to others, and I even posted it for a short time before I took it down on June 16th, 2025, so less than a month ago, about this scene um, at Camp Mystic. And can I explain it? I can explain it. I can explain it. I can explain the dream. The dream is starting after a whole day of really thinking about it. At first, you're just shocked. When I first looked at Camp Mystic and zoomed into Camp Mystic and that little dam area, just, right beside Camp Mystic, just south of the snapshot that I put up. And I put up the dam there. It's a shock. It's you get the chills. And it was absolutely the place in my dreams. That was just weeks before, but it was weeks before. And the man that was an official, um, and satisfied with himself and up to something. I knew in my dream I was watching an official that was up to no good, that he was definitely a corrupted, compromised official. I knew that in my dream. And he was looking at his watch. He was looking at his watch standing on the bank. And he was looking at the water and he was looking at his watch. And he was waiting for the right time. And when he jumped in, just horror was in me. And I was, wanting to call out, you can't do that. It's dangerous. We knew that water was dangerous. He knew that water was dangerous. And he jumped into the water and he started swimming just for like a second. And I was like almost relief, a little like, oh, okay, he's okay. He'll be okay. And then all of a sudden, the water just engulfed him. And he knew he was happy about it. He was happy that this water was going to engulf him. Like a trap door. He was pulled under, like it was like a trap door under the water, and he fell through it. And I'm trying to really understand, and I think an investigation would clarify my dream. But there's no doubt about it that my dream was about this flooding. It's just to that spot when I saw it. And that's what I even made an image on the 16th of June, 2025 of this spot. And you can see it. You can see the image that I made and that I had shared with my family and close friends. So this whole flooding needs to be investigated, really investigated. And, and I think that I hope so. I did hear today that President Trump is declaring it a disaster and that he is going to visit that area, I think Friday. So I hope that there's a lot of eyes on this. It absolutely is important. And, I just can't hide what has happened, the connection with Texas and our family and in our son's case with so many cases. I'm telling you, I don't want Richard's case to be intertwined with all of these other cases. It makes it so complicated, right? It makes it so complicated. I don't want it to be that way, but it is. It is. And the evidence shows that it's intertwined with the Walmart case and the investigations into the El Paso Community Foundation for fraudulent distribution of the Walmart mass shooting victims funds. Um, Richard's case is intertwined with this funeral fraud nexus, with mortuary affairs, with um, VA benefits, with it's just intertwined with that. And there's absolute fraud. We have hard evidence of the fraud. We have hard evidence that Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who claimed to be a victim of the Walmart mass shooting, was not a qualified victim. Okay, she was not a qualified victim of the Walmart mass shooting. And she cashed in, I think, around $200,000 she received, um, and and tampered with documents. Okay, tampered with documents. That has been confirmed. She is absolutely a fraudster. Okay, and she is family to Danae Katzen, another fraudster, and also a fugitive. Okay, I can't make that up. And Richard's case is intertwined with these fraudsters that are part of the media, right? The media, the KTSM fraud that's going on, and Danae's husband being Jonathan Ambrose, connected to 143 ADA, Richard's unit. Okay, Richard's unit, being connected to Richard's unit. That is just facts. Leilani Hart being a prime suspect, and in the murder of our son, and having family in the CID. I can't make that up. That's just the truth. That's just the facts. And that she's the mother of Richard's platoon leader. That's just the facts. Now they don't want to admit it, but it's just the facts. And we have plenty of witness testimony to that. And they don't have Richard's first his platoon leader, do they? They can't produce a platoon. Matter of fact, they didn't want us to be near anybody in his immediate unit. They brought in 343 to meet with us, whereas Richard was in 143. So I can't. That's documented. That's nothing. That's nothing that I've made up. It's absolutely fact. And that her husband, I mean, it's an ex-husband now, but at the time it was her husband, was in the Fort Bliss VA, and was in charge of IDS Pueblo, which is disability benefits. That is a fact. Um, so, uh, and that Leilani Hart and Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, I mean, Leilani Hart confessed to the worst type of crimes against children. Rosa Maria Valdez is a proven fraudster. Leilani Hart is a convicted criminal, and then with David Poche and Carlos Mendez, Bob Moore, who is a co-conspirator in this with Manny Chavira of ANR Chavira Auto Group LLC. I can't make this up. It's all documented how they are connected all together. Used Bob Moore of El Paso Matters used and is funded by El Paso Community Foundation, the very entity that was being investigated for the fraudulent distribution of, it was like $12 million, y'all. So, here he is using his unreliable sources in Leilani Hart and Rosa Maria and Carlos Mendez and David Poche to fabricate false stories, to interfere in investigations, into El Paso Community Foundation, into the Walmart mass shooting case, into Richard's murder. And so he's absolutely a co-conspirator because of A&R Chavira being the one that trafficked Richard's vehicle, that targeted Richard. That is all fact. That is all fact. That's not, me speculating. Um, so this is, and DA Bill Hicks, who's a usurper DA, that is all documented. It's all documented with timestamps. His call to the Secretary of State to get help in covering up his tampering with official documents. Here we have this young man just found guilty in court the other day for tampering with the official records, filing him into the court. Whereas Bill Hicks and James 2028 Stamp Montoya has done the same thing. So why then is there a double standard here, right? The same thing with Lilani Hart, with her confession to the worst type of crimes against children. She absolutely is getting preferential, illegal treatment. She needs to be arrested. And what all Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe did to us, what CID did to us, what our casualty affairs officer did to us, they all need to be held accountable for what they've done. And is there motive for all this covering up and for what they did to Richard? Well, besides their criminal trafficking, which is worth billions of dollars, besides um, the contracts, the controlling of government contracts, which is worth millions and billions of dollars. And you see that with Nadal Baim and Bradford Bugado, the lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM Richards Command. You see the Palestinian arms dealer. I can't make that up. That's what he is. He's a Palestinian arms dealer trying to sell ammunition to the El Paso Police Department of upwards of $3 million. And running Western Frontier Trading that now is suing him and his wife, Isis Chavira, who has is family of Manuel Chavira, connecting them all together. With the Texas Ranger Sanchez, right? Gustavo Sanchez, also is a family of Isis Chavira and Manny Chavira, the chief of police of the ISD. Um, I can't make that up. And he was assigned to our case. Why is that? And the whole thing with the FBI, with Michael Mayella being in the FBI, him being in the DA's office, with Jaime Esparza, who absolutely targeted Richard. And we have the proof of that, right? Um, and being Walmart cybersecurity. This is all during the whole Walmart mass shooting investigation. I can't make that up. And he's the brother-in-law of Patrick Crusius. Patrick Crusius, the quote unquote mass shooter for the Walmart mass shooting. And here Patrick Crusius, his whole family is he's not his whole family, but a big portion of his family is very connected with El Paso. I mean, his brother is married to the manager of the federal courthouse where they were controlling uh, Patrick Crusius's federal case that never got a trial date, that never ever went to trial. And, none of he had a state case and a federal case, never a trial date was set. They didn't even try that. And there, of course, are no death penalty, right? No death penalty that they always promised that would happen. That would be the normal thing that would happen in Texas, and they didn't do it, right? So and that's just on the records. That's just reality. That is the red pill, right? That's the red pill of reality. So Richard's case being intertwined with all of that and being intertwined now with the funeral business that is implicated in this cartel narco um, mass dumping ground of rotting bodies, a stone throw away from El Paso, right? Right across the border. You have this mass. They're reporting. They are very conservative when they're reporting this kind of stuff, but they're reporting 383. The last time I saw, we think it's far more than that. Um, and of piled rotting bodies, and then the media tries to clean it up a little bit and say these are uh, from funeral homes, but it was just because of backlog or something like this. No, this is in the pictures is a female in her underwear with the evidence, the blood evidence of trauma still on her body. Funeral homes don't deliver even to crematoriums such or they shouldn't, right? A body should be cleaned up and respected. They should be in bags. These bodies were not in bags. They were just piled on top of each other, some of them with black tape around their head. And these were a really terrible, terrible, inhumane situation. And so you can't spin it. You can't spin it. And it was government sanctioned. And it was also now connected to the funeral homes and to purchase funeral homes, which is Bill Hicks's, a big contributor. And he is the attorney. So this is absolutely proven that the benefits, the veteran benefits are intertwined in this, that the chief medical examiner, both in El Paso and in Juarez at the Semifo, are involved in this. This is the funeral homes are involved in this. The notaries are involved in this. The transportation, NGOs with U.S. aid, because there was a lot of money that went to uh, this kind of burial of John Does or Jane Does. Um, and that's all documented. So it was really ripe for fraudsters. Do we know that fraudsters are part of this? 100% Bill Hicks is a fraudster. 100% Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is a fraudster. And Danae Katzen is a fraudster. And that they are connected to this funeral home nexus, right? This funeral home nexus. Same with Leilani Hart. Same with James Courtney Hart. They are absolutely. Same with Chris Martin. Same with Jules Tuganon Chan. Same with Melissa Mendez at Texas Tech University Health Science Center, and on to law enforcement, and they're absolutely part of this criminal nexus, um, uh, this rotting body uh, exploitation, mass dumping ground of rotting bodies and exploited for every cent they can get. Um, so it just makes me want to throw up, right? Because of our son's case is intertwined in this, and I really wouldn't like it to be, but it is. It is. And is Richard's remains valuable? Is his name valuable to this kind of nexus, to the benefits, disability benefits, death benefits, funeral um, costs, uh, fraud, anything in this? Is it beneficial? Would they try to uh, profit off of his death? Okay. Richards, because he's a U.S. Army soldier, he is absolutely worth a lot of money. A lot of money. Okay. And they knew that. They absolutely knew that. And don't forget, they didn't start anything when it comes to us until the 1st of September of 2020. So they had a lot of time in there to manipulate um, whatever they were going to do with his remains and the paperwork and everything. They had time. They had motive because he's worth a lot of money. They had motive to take his life because he was a whistleblower for um, for President Trump and border security. Okay, that's very important. He was a whistleblower, not just a witness. He was a whistleblower, which made him um, much more riskier than a witness. And so he was absolutely targeted. And is there um, motive for them to think about what they were going to do with his remains, to hide the evidence, to cash in all the evidence? They absolutely had motive. They absolutely have the nexus there to do it. They have their nexus, their criminal nexus of individuals from mortuary affairs to the funeral business, to the media business, to the medical examiners' offices, to the politicians, the narco politicians, and all the cross border transportation schemes. Um, and I know that I'm probably missing a lot of other, the notaries. The notaries, they absolutely have in place the nexus to um, monetize on our son's remains. Um, is there a pattern of impersonation? Yes. Will they impersonate for money? Is that possible from them? Do they show a pattern of that? Yes, they do. Um, could they, do they have the ability to cash in on Richard's remains in the United States and also in Chihuahua, Mexico? Yes, because their NGOs, their um, their knowledge of NGOs, their own NGOs, their own LLCs, their knowledge of apostilles and notaries and how the paperwork has to be, that's their business. And do they have a history of being fraudsters? Do they have a history of being criminals? Do they have a history of disability benefit fraud? Yes, yes, and yes. And death benefit fraud? I don't know. I don't know about that, but I do know that the funerals, um, well, maybe I do know because of this mass dumping ground of rotting bodies. I think that kind of is evidence for this kind of fraud on remains. And do I want to say all this? Do I want to even acknowledge all of this? I never even would imagine people could be this satanic. What's the word for it? It's just so evil. It's so dark. It's just the worst type of people. And they need to absolutely be held accountable. Um, and we know that a lot of things were happening. Those that for the first couple months, a lot of things were happening, and there was a lot of manipulation and a lot of fraud. Um, and that there was a lot of shaking people, really fearful. I don't think they thought that we would care about our son, and they just thought they could just have a heyday, taking his life, and then monetizing it, because even the searches, there's money available. I didn't know about this, but we had a lot of searches, and it was supposed to be like volunteers, but do you know that there's NGOs, there's funding like USAID funding that was for those kind of things. Um, so I don't know. That would be, it all needs to be investigated. But there's a lot of questions now. The more information that comes out, the more questions that we have, because things, the puzzle pieces are fitting together. And this kind of level of fraud, this kind of level of criminality couldn't happen without the narco politicians. Okay. And I think that that is one of the things that we encounter with the people that we're talking with is it's very hard to believe that politicians in the United States could be this intertwined. I mean, we know that they're corrupt, right? But to be this intertwined, because they absolutely have to purposely do what they're doing, intertwined in this kind of fraud, even against a U.S. Army soldier, you know. And that's what we're coming up against. The really they would do that. I don't know if they would do that. And if they would do that, then this flooding from Hunt down to Camp Mystic, okay, Hunt, Texas, in Kerr County, Hunt, Texas to uh, that's where the water was flowing from Hunt. That's how the water flows from Hunt, Texas to the Camp Mystic, right along that Guadalupe. And Camp Mystic really, really got it because, I mean, they all got it because of the height of the water, right? But when you're in that kind of turn in a river bend, they were in that river bend. Uh, it's really interesting to go to Google Earth and to explore that area because it allows you to understand how the water comes, and of course it's a hill country, and that it is a dangerous place for flash flooding. You can see that there, definitely with rainfall, there is a danger of flooding, but we're talking about 42 feet in 1 to 3 hours, in just like 2 minutes. Somebody put up this huge rush of water, and I don't want to um, put out the numbers just in 1 or 2 minutes how fast the water came. They, they didn't have a chance. There wasn't like time to think this through. So I think one man died because he was trying to break a window um, and and cut himself so bad that he passed away. So the panic, when you're trying to protect your family, the panic um, is just it was so fast. It was so fast. That panic shows you that it was so fast. Um, I think it really needs to be investigated because to me, it's very stinky. It just cuts too close to home. And that Dan Patrick, who I don't trust at all, because what happened, what has happened in El Paso, right, with Bill Hicks, with the funeral homes, with the military, with all of the millions of people that have come through, the hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked on Fort Bliss. I don't trust Governor Abbott or Dan Patrick. Okay? You're talking about hundreds of thousands of children that are now mostly dead. You're talking about so many people coming through the front door of the United States. And Governor Abbott with Dan Patrick could have stopped that very easily. We're talking about Texas here. They could have stopped that so easily, and they didn't. And they're up to no good. And, I think that, that might be controversial, but to me, that's just the facts. So Bill Hicks, Veronica Escobar absolutely needs to be held accountable to the fullest extent. She held the purse strings for the Biden campaign and the Harris campaign. That's unheard of. And that was 1.2 billion, more than 1.2 billion dollars. I mean, she had the power, she had the ear to address all of this. She denied us a congressional twice. So absolutely, you know them by their fruit. I'm not putting an R behind them or a D behind them. I'm saying they had the authority and the position that they were, and they proved to be narco politicians. Narco politicians and aiding and abetting the criminal trafficking, and also the protection and the cover up of those that murdered my son, our hero, our soldier. And that is just facts. And I can go on and on, naming a lot of them. So, and this, to add on top of this, the funeral fraud and the disability fraud, the death benefit fraud, they're not stupid. This is why 22 agencies are involved in our son's case. This is why they've worked so hard to cover this up, to silence us, to shadow ban us on the internet, to intimidate witnesses, intimidate those that listen to our story. those that share our story, they've intimidated, they've bullied. Those that wanted to be witnesses, like the widow, they absolutely intimidated her. Like the soldier, they absolutely intimidated the soldier that wanted a congressional, that requested a congressional from Representative Escobar, um, you know, and many others, many others. And that they went to such an extent um, trying to uh, get very close to us to extract whatever we knew, and direct us, right? Um, so that is, it's because it's billions of dollars and it's major fraud and it goes to the highest levels. I mean, you're talking about generals here. You're talking about the governor of Texas, one of the most powerful positions in the United States. I think it's the fifth most powerful position, if not maybe the fourth most powerful position in the United States, which makes it one of the top positions in the world. The economy of Texas is so big, y'all. And to be a governor is such a powerful position. If he wanted to stop all of this and investigate and get justice and do the right thing, he could have absolutely did it. But he's a narco politician. And so, do I trust what happened to those young girls, to this humongous flooding, that kind of water? Do I think that there might be some foul play in it? My dream says so. My dream says that there's foul play in this. Does it have to do with dams? Does it have to do with reservoirs? Does it have to do with blockages? Does it have to do with, some people have sent me things about the clouds and controlling weather and things like this. I'm going to leave that to the investigators. But what I do know is that this is really stinky and it's cost so many lives. It just the Walmart case too cost so many lives, right? And there's more information coming out about the Walmart case. A lot more information. Which I'll address like tomorrow. I guess I'll address it tomorrow, but because we are burning the midnight oil tonight, it's been and tomorrow, well, today I guess it's July 7th, 2025. Um, we will absolutely keep going because so many people, um, you know, this nexus doesn't care about life. Look at what they did with these piled up bodies. And, and I checked it out. The Bible absolutely makes clear that even the worst criminal, someone even crucified, cannot be left on the pole. That's in the Bible, left on the pole overnight. They need to be taken down and buried. And I even did some reading, especially today was Sunday, and it was just amazing readings today. But about cremation, I learned a lot today. With reading about cremation, it really is meant for the worst criminals, and I didn't know that. The Bible reserves cremation for those that have committed like the worst crimes. And an honorable burial is one like what Jesus had. He had the honorable burial. So it's just very interesting what we learn through this process, through this getting justice for Richard and getting Richard's remains. And Richard's remains are so valuable, right? They're so valuable as a U.S. Army soldier. I mean, uh, just in death benefits, it's $500,000. And then even more than that, when you think of burial and this and that, and if it's cross border, if they cash in on cross border, if they make him a John Doe, and if they impersonate that they're um, an organization, they're taking him and they'll bury him, and the funeral has to bury him, and then NGOs um, come into play, and then the USAID money comes into play, and it's very interesting when you really start researching how they could exploit Richard's remains. So, getting his remains are very, very important. Exposing this kind of fraud is very, very important. Getting accountability for those that took his life is very, very important. And so we're because it involves all of these other cases. And I maintain, because of our research, even the attempts on President Trump's life, this is connected to that nexus. And it's just the evidence shows it. And so, because Richard's case is connected to so many other cases and so many agencies, it's very important to get accountability. And it's going to be a whopper. It is going to be a whopper. And I don't mean the hamburger. It's going to be huge. And so that's why, step by step, we see this administration taking the steps, and it's very dangerous for this administration. They have big enemies. So, and what Elon Musk is doing right now is, I think, a huge diversion. A huge diversion. Well, I think he's wants the subsidies. I think he made a lot of money off of the subsidies for electric cars and for space and all of that. And now the money is being taken away from that and putting towards the border and border security. And he's not happy about that. Um, so he's just protecting how he made his millions and billions, right? Um, so, whatever. He's just, I don't know. You would think that he's got his share and he would just do his business and live happily with all his children. But, I don't know. I guess border security is such a, who knows where the tentacles are of all of that border trading and everything like that. But all I know is that it's the border being unsecured, that unsecured Fort Bliss, and that compromised Fort Bliss and compromised the positions of leadership in El Paso, that created the criminal trafficking atmosphere that was so bad that Richard felt the need to be a whistleblower for, which caused his life to be lost at such a young age. Um, and so, this is all in God's hand. God has exposed it using Richard. He's really a truly sparkling clean, and he's a total hero. But I rather him be alive, you know. I rather him be alive. This has been a very um, eye-opening week again, and a lot of investigation needs to be carried out, but um, a lot of accountability. We need to stop letting these criminals get away with what they're doing. That's what needs to happen. So thank you so much, Anicia, for coming on so late with your love and your prayers. And I put up a prayer today for what's happening, and I didn't name it totally because I think the disasters are not just the flooding, but also what's happening in Juarez, Mexico, and in El Paso, and around the world. And so I just put out that prayer. So thank you for your prayers. And Martha, thank you for your prayers and your love and the wings to fly, to fly. Richard's an angel. His spirit, well, I think it's more than an angel. You know, the human body is more than an angel. And so his spirit is absolutely haunting, right? And I think maybe that's why I had that dream. I've had a lots of dreams, but that dream really needed to be discussed. The one with the dam, the one with the canal dam, um, and there is no better example of my dream than that dam area at Camp Mystic. So um, something is being told to us, and I think we need to listen. Thank you so much, everyone. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.